And good evening. Welcome to Sunday Night Live. You join us live. I don't actually know where you join us live. You're not live from my living room. But yeah, welcome live. I'm just going to make sure I unmute everybody so they can talk. Good evening, everybody. First of all, our special guest first, Danny Macklin. Thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Pleasure, and good evening, everybody.
Super. We're just letting people join them. We've got quite a few joined us already on there.
Evening, Dylan.
Evening, all. Rob. Evening, mate.
How's it going? You good?
Yeah, no problem. There's a bit of a satellite delay, mate, for you where you
Can
are.
you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, mate. Anne-Marie, good evening.
Am I on a bit of a lag?
Good evening. Thank you very much for having me.
Superb. And Spike, good evening, mate. Oh, Spike is muted at the moment. Spike, you're on mute. Technology. Cool. Well, this evening, so we're going to go through. We unfortunately, due to obviously the power surge at the stadium yesterday, we weren't able to do a final whistle show. So we're going to sort of cover off the first bit, and of course, Danny can join us, and don't worry, Danny, I won't ask you any questions that would get you in trouble in terms of football. Referee decisions will be Anne-Marie. I don't think we've got many actually, Anne-Marie, to be fair. We haven't got nothing really happened yesterday. I'm trying to think. Did anything really happen yesterday? Actually, let's go through from a referee assessor point of view, Anne-Marie. Was there anything that you spotted? I don't think there was anything too bad. Thought referee was decent yesterday.
To be honest, I actually went to the game with a Carlisle fan who's also a referee, and both of us said on the way back, couldn't really think of any real key match incidents. Certainly, if there were any, I don't think he got any wrong. I think he had a pretty solid game. I mean, the only thing that really stood out is frustrating, and I know it's a difficult one from a referee and a linesman's perspective to manage. Is poor Josh Davison once again losing the sleeve of his shirt from a lot of shirt pulling happening. It seems to be the story for all our strikers having gets a bit handsy in League Two. That's the only thing I think that they possibly could have pulled up on earlier, because it really was quite bad. I don't know if you could see it from where you were, but
yeah,
poor
definitely.
chap.
And do you know what was interesting? We had Hussein Bida on the pre-match yesterday, who is an absolute diamond. Anyone who's not met Hussein Bida, I was totally shocked because his aggression and the way he plays on the pitch, his voice doesn't really match that. I don't know, Danny, if you've met him that way in terms of he's a very softly spoken lad, isn't he? But on the pitch, he's not that way.
Crosses over the white line, as many do, and changes his competitive nature, shall we say? Yeah, in a good way.
And he was saying, actually, interestingly, he was saying about haircuts. We got on the haircuts. Don't know why. But he was saying he loved the I don't know what Josh Davison's done to his hair. Like he's breaded it, isn't he, or something like that.
I absolutely love it. And interestingly, for obviously for part of the season, he just had it down, and then he had it in a sort of loose pony, and now it's gone into this beautiful kind of tight braids. I think it's very nice. I can see why he's a bit of a TikTok sensation. Interestingly, when he does have it loose, I do always think that's possibly a bit tactical, jumping up and whipping the defenders in the face with the hair, because there isn't anything in the laws of the game to stop him doing that. So, but no, looked very smart yesterday.
Yeah, obviously I'm not one to comment on haircuts. Spike, you're probably better with that, mate, to be fair, aren't you? The longer hair.
Yeah.
No, Danny, I wasn't going to go there, mate.
I remember a few months ago on the show I did suggest I would give him some advice, but he clearly doesn't need it on anything now. He's a significantly better footballer, and now he's got his hair sorted as well. So
definitely,
all systems go.
Definitely. So as always on this, any questions, please send them in. Of course, I will filter any that are that just don't go with what you know the score now by now. Put some points across constructively, and we're asked them to best our ability on that. So let's talk about yesterday in that case then. So Danny, I think probably there's no point shying away from obviously the challenges you had yesterday. I know we were talking just before we started. It was a hell of a challenging day for yourself and the club, wasn't it?
Yeah, so there's me on the balcony. We had a number of guests there yesterday, sponsors and partners, as well as having a good from both sides. And 2:51 and around about 52 seconds, I said to Ian Cook on a balcony, God, do you know what? It's the first game I've had where everything's gone smoothly. Turnstiles are working, tannoy is working. It's really working well. And as I said the word well, there was this eerie silence, smoke coming from the generator, and I just turned around and just went, I may have sworn, pegged it up to the third floor, up to our control room, which would be standard sort of practice. And yeah, I mean, to just summarise what happened, we had a power surge. At first, we assumed it was just a repeat of the previous issues, which we knew we would resolve, hence why we were even more dismayed and quite angry of ourselves. And the power surge was affecting a number of areas, especially in South Wimbledon, which was a relief to know it wasn't just us this time around. And our generator didn't quite kick in as quickly as it should. It was split seconds rather than minute split seconds. And as a result, our CCTV took quite a few minutes to reboot itself and to be able to reset. We therefore, in consultation with the police, took a very difficult decision. We were very concerned that if the power went again, we obviously hadn't already put the floodlights on at that stage. If the power went again, let's picture a scenario, we went 2 or 3-0 up and it went and it meant the floodlights couldn't work because we were concerned about the backup generator, the fact they hadn't tripped in, there was something not quite right. You can imagine the scenes if we'd been with that, and our last thing we wanted to do was to confront Johnny and say, sorry, game's off. So we took the decision to reduce all risks in terms of the power. So turn the LED off, reduce the screen, turning with laptops, fridges, you name it, whatever we legally could turn off. And then in consultation with the police and very much on their encouragement, we made the very difficult decision to prohibit alcohol sales until the conclusion of the game. Might ask what on earth's that got to do with it, but in a nutshell, if our CCTV isn't working and there was an incident in the bars or in anywhere in the stadium, me as the licensee holder would be in severe trouble. The club would be in severe trouble, and we wouldn't have a leg to stand on should there be an incident that we can't back up with CCTV. So a very difficult decision, a frustrating decision. It costs us, the club, money. That's the last thing we want. And tomorrow morning we've got an urgent meeting to understand what's happened with the generator. Can't help a power cut, but we certainly can look into why that didn't instantly trip in. We probably would have been fine. I would have put a lot of money. We would have been okay, but just that 1 or 2% chance of risk and the knock-on repercussions that could have had on our season. That to me, the inconvenience of a beer at half-time was the smaller price to pay.
Yep.
Danny, in a weird way, is it good that you're finding out these issues of? I know we've lost revenue through lack of alcohol sales, you say, but is it good that you're finding out these issues with the the generator and the PA system and things now, so you can iron them out in the long run, or is it one of the ones you just prefer not to have happen?
Prefer not to have. I think let's go back. This stadium is new, and we have teething issues. And how many games have we had where there's that? So going back to the issues we had previously. They were all due to the load that was on our system. We've now addressed that. But again, we haven't had many games where we've had sellout crowds, home and away fans, where we can truly test this. Normally you would have various events that allow you to build that up. You can't test in anything but a live mode. You can't test the generator because you can't just all of a sudden put every till transaction, every one on Wi-Fi, connectivity, etc., to test it and to load test it. So I wish these issues weren't happening, but the key thing is now that should we ever have a power cut, that was pretty bad luck. Should we ever have it, no one would even know. It's just literally the blink of an eye and it's back on. But every issue we've tackled head on, and it's just frustrating. That came the first game after we know that we've sorted all of the problems that were affecting our tills and other apparatus.
Do you know what, it's funny,
and
actually.
Danny, do you want to just clear up that? I was going to say, does Danny just want to clear up? There seems to be some rumours going around that fans could get alcohol in hospitality, but not down in the Phoenix.
We were only allowing alcohol in the boxes because most of those had been pre-poured. So we would have had to have gone and emptied the fridges. Yep. Obviously, they buy their drinks in advance. We had a very small amount of time, but other lounges were not allowing drink sales. But that's not to say that people weren't drinking, because they may have left their drink on the table or have just left it on the side, or whatever it was. So there would have been a few people drinking in hospitality, but there was not an instruction that went out. It's quite the contrary thing. I didn't want anyone drinking, because I don't think it's right that just because someone's paid a premium, they should be able to enjoy something that someone's not. But there would have been people in there for those reasons.
I have to say, it was interesting.
Sure, makes sense.
Yeah, it's interesting. Rob, wasn't it, yesterday? Because you know what, Danny, I won't lie. When we got to the ground, the advertising boards were really, really bright. Like, looked really bright. And then there was a flash, and they went. And me and Rob were like, okay, that's cool. Then they've gone, so we could see the football. Then we obviously realised there was a power surge. Then we heard about the alcohol. We were like, well, we don't drink anyway, so it's not our problem. And then all of a sudden we thought, 1 second, is Naked Chips going to be available? Is the power going to supply anything to the So it's an interesting thing, and I'm joking obviously with that, because I think nothing you can really do with that. In terms of that generator, you can't test it. I fully understand that. Does it sort of give a load of what it can provide? Because obviously there's a lot of, in terms of electric at the stadium, there's a lot going on a match day, isn't there?
I've become a bit of an electric expert over the last 24 hours. If you saw my internet history for the last 24 hours, it would make some interesting reading in terms of electric terms that I didn't know existed. So I'm going to consult with the experts tomorrow. Literally got a call very first thing to understand this with our sort of technical consultants, etc. Because I'm not qualified to answer that question, but we need to know that is going to work. You might have a power cut for an hour and a half, and again, you do not want to be losing match day points, match day revenue, or even non-match day stuff. So that we've got to make sure that works instantly every single time.
Do we have any idea what kind of ballpark figure something like that costs us on a match day?
It's hard to gauge. I mean, ultimately it was, I say just 15 minutes, but it was the most important 15 minutes of the week revenue-wise. Half time, and there were a lot of people that just assumed we weren't going to be able to serve drinks full time. I'll do some maths over the next few days with our catering partners, Elior, but it will be a good few £1,000 of profit, and above all else, we've reduced the fan experience, and a lot of people left on full time. I made the decision with about 5 minutes to go to not make the announcement because I wanted the focus to be on. And Josh nearly did the job, which would have made everyone's life easier to not distract the players, because the announcement we had to make needed to be about 40 odd seconds, and that was wrong to be doing that whilst we were chasing what probably would have been deserved 3 points.
Cool. So I'm conscious that we're going to obviously we've got loads of questions coming in, Danny, but I'm conscious I don't want to load it all on yesterday. I think that was quite a good explanation of obviously the main line. So we'll come back into it a little later. I have to laugh. Matthew Cooper, good question. Well, not even a question, a statement. I thought the advertising hoarding went off and Brown booted the ball at it. That brings us on. In all fairness, that brings us on obviously to yesterday.
If it does, we can take that out of his wages. That's a great spot.
To be fair, that's probably one of the least things that Lee Brown does on a match day. To be fair,
there's people's fridges and freezers in South Wimbledon as well. This could be a great claim. This could be.
I have to say, Lee Brown can sometimes be Marmite with football, but I absolutely love when he plays, because he's proper old school. Especially when Harry Pell and Alex Rudyard are on the same pitch. I think it's absolute comical. Rob, yesterday, let's just put up the score. So how do we think yesterday? Overall thoughts, obviously we've had a chance to reflect now, but overall, how do you think? A deserved point yesterday?
You know what? I thought it was going to be 0-0 before. I did your stadium tour, and somebody asked me what the score was going to be, and I said 0-0, just because both teams keep a lot of clean sheets. I think we've kept 11, and they've kept maybe one more than us, or something like that. So, there wasn't ever going to be many goals in this game. And I think before the game, them coming down to our place, they would have probably been happy with a point. And I think, them being third in the league, top scorers, we would have probably been happy with a point. And it was one of them games where both teams just, were keeping it tight and looking to nick a goal at some point, and it was never going to be a high-scoring game, was it? And, I'll be honest, it was one of them boring 0-0s, unfortunately. Sometimes you get them 0-0s, there's a lot of chances, a lot of action. It was more one of them boring 0-0s. But you know what? You seem to get 3 or 4 of them a season, unfortunately. Yesterday was just the day. I feel a bit sorry for Danny or any new fans who came to AFC Wimbledon yesterday, because not only was it a boring 0-0, but then you obviously had the power issues as well. So wouldn't have been a great experience for any new fans, but it's not like that every week.
Anne-Marie, obviously you were up in hospitality yesterday, weren't you? We saw you yesterday. Anne-Marie's always in hospitality, by the way.
Nah, it's 2 weekends on the bounce, and now I feel like you guys think I'm part of the prawn sandwich brigade, which I'm absolutely not. I'll be back at My Pie soon. I just wanted to go back to just in terms of the decision that Danny had to make. I think it must have been exceptionally stressful. And I think I would just wanted to give a shout out really to the staff who were in hospitality, who were fantastic. Obviously, lots of quite understandably frustrated and confused fans. But the staff did a really, really great job of making sure everyone was looked after, and plenty of cakes and personalised Wimbledon pies going around just to keep everyone happy without the booze for a few minutes. So I thought, yeah, they're a real credit, to be fair, particularly Pietro. So yeah, in terms of the actual game itself, I agree with Rob. I think we both teams equalled each other out. Pretty solid 0-0, and I thought, at start of the season, maybe we would have struggled to see through a match like that. So I think it was a pretty solid professional job.
Danny, I was going to say, obviously, from a football point of view, you can see obviously there we've had 3 goalless draws in the last 5, so we're probably not the most exciting to watch in terms of how are you finding it now. We look quite solid, don't we, in terms of defensively? We look very mean at the back there.
I mean, if you look since towards the end of October, we've lost to Sutton twice, and to Orient, who will almost certainly be champions.
Yep.
We're now, I think Johnny said yesterday, we should fear no one. We're competing with the best in the league. Over the next few days, we would have ended up playing the top 3 in the space of just a few games. It's a tough run of games. You're not going to be playing the top teams all the week. Carlisle, I spoke to their owner and CEO before the game, and they're pleasantly surprised at where they are, and they'll probably continue to be on that door of the top 3. They'll probably almost certainly make, I think, a playoff spot, in my humble opinion. But we're competing. We look difficult to beat. I mean, how many clean sheets is that now that Nick and the back line and the team as a whole have earned? It's credit to what he's doing. We've got one of the best keepers, certainly in League Two. Nick will go higher. I hope that's with us, and I think that's testament to so much of the backroom staff. A certain character of Beza who must take massive credit for that. He works around the clock, and I know he says working with Nick and the goalkeeping department is as good as he's seen for a long time. In terms of that, so long may that continue. And just a bit of luck at the other end. I say Josh yesterday was another 5 out of 10 times that would have hit the back of the net, and we would have danced off and gone and had a pint.
Spike, obviously graphic wise you've seen this before, but it's 12 clean sheet this season. What's really interesting, if you look at Leyton Orient 18 clean sheets, that's probably not a surprise. That's obviously why they're doing so well in the league. But Carlisle, the 12th one yesterday. If you look at those teams, most of those teams are competing up in playoffs or promotion. So it shows we're doing the right things, Mike, doesn't it? It's just that edge now, isn't it, up front?
Yeah, I think having a solid backline is always a good foundation. That's probably a bit of a cliche, but if you don't concede goals, you don't lose many games. So that's a good start. I think it was promising that we kept their number 14, Christian Dennis, quiet yesterday. Don't think he even really had a sniff, considering he's top scorer in the league.
Yeah.
I don't recall him doing anything really, but then equally, Josh Davison didn't have a huge amount to do, and that could be partly just both teams cancelling each other out. But if you were to say we were to face 2 of the top 3 or 4 teams in the league and come away with a point, including one being away, probably would have taken that if you're being realistic, but a bit maybe negative, I suppose. But realistic is the word.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? We didn't actually get a chance to this yesterday, but I was just thinking, obviously, we just quickly go through where we were. So, any interesting scores yesterday? Barrow lost at home to I think a 95th minute winner, which that journey, crikey, we've got that journey's coming March, guys, haven't we? That must be great for Newport. Anything else stand out there? Anyone want to go?
Well, I think the first thing we need to say is this was one of the victims of the power cut. Didn't get to show this to everyone yesterday. The main casualty was no post match 9 years live. But
let's be fair, we're nowhere near essential. So we knew that.
Yeah.
I know we were speaking to Chris. We were talking to Chris Macklin, and he sort of said, "I've just turned all your power off." And I'm like, "That's not a problem at all." You go for that. Interesting, Colchester winning at Grimsby. On that side, I think Colchester now well out of trouble. Stockport stay, and this is where it's mad, isn't it? We beat Stockport at home, good side. They went to Harrogate 1-3-1 and staying in the playoff positions. I think we went above Stockport when we beat them. Mansfield beating Gillingham at home. Obviously, next opponents was Northampton, 1-1 at Rochdale. Danny, how in terms of obviously Leyton Orient, a former club, you must have. I was thinking in the early days, obviously one of your early games was against Leyton Orient. I'm sure you're not that, I'm sure not so much get one over them, but obviously that must have been an enjoyable evening. Of course, former colleagues coming to Plough Lane.
Yeah, I left Orient obviously on great terms, and yeah, I'd like to see us both go up, and it's good to see them succeeding. It was great to get our wings. It was my first home game, and yeah, last Saturday was strange going back. And yeah, you look back on that. I think we've got 1 point from those 2 games, but easily we could have got 6 out of 6 with that. And again, that's testament to we are now competing, and just that little bit extra luck and Zyle in front of goal, and we could be turning a couple of these draws into wins. If you look at the league table with 4 more points, we would be even further in the mix. We're in the mix, and we're 14th. So it's such a congested league table. Almost take out perhaps the top 2 and the bottom. It's a very congested middle pack.
Definitely, and it's as if by coincidence.
You know what? I think personally.
Go on.
No, I was going to say, I think personally, in a few weeks' time, some of these close games we've been having, these 0-0 draws, we'll start picking up 3 points just because we had such a disruptive January window. Obviously we lost 6 players, and some of them are key players. Losing Vassal, and I think we've brought in some really good talent. I like the look of Ali, for example, on permanent transfer. I like the look of him, and I'm not going to try and pronounce his name, but DJ from Charlton, he's a really good player whenever he's come down to Plough Lane in the past. So I think give him a few weeks to bed in some of these players. We saw 5 minutes of McAteer and saw what he can do as well. And, I think once we got a bit more of a settled side and these new players are bedded in and, built up a cohesion with Davinson up front, the goals should really start coming.
Definitely. Question there from Sean Connor, Danny, on how do you think the new security is working out? Because I think obviously Leyton Orient there was some issues, wasn't there? And you made a very quick decision on that.
Yeah, when decisions have to be made, that's one of the philosophies I've tried to install within the team, is that we make it accurately, not on a whim, but we move quickly where we need to, and that situation sadly required it. And yeah, we're embedding our new security company. Not easy to source, especially during the season, and where you're competing. If we're at home at the same time as Chelsea or Fulham or Brentford, they're able to pay more an hour, and that makes it challenging. But I'm pleased with the progress we're making with our security team. Every game we review how we can fine tune things and make things better. And we have over the last few games had, just by coincidence, with some of the teams that have come down, Bradford, Stockport, and massive plaudits yesterday's the Carlisle 1,000 odd that travelled down. We've had some big away attendances, so they're big tests, and we continue to improve that area. Importantly, every game.
Brilliant. Actually, that's an interesting question from my point of view. I know on away games, I'm not too sure how much you get involved in that, but I know on away games sometimes they've not expected so many fans, etc. How does it work? Obviously, for yesterday, Carlisle, would they have said we're expecting to sell such and such? How does it work with allocation for away games?
Yeah, so obviously we allow up to 1,200. We will give them the number of tickets based on what they request, based on what's realistic. If a club from far away doesn't normally travel, we wouldn't send them all those tickets for obvious reasons. And then it's just dialogue on a daily basis and an hourly basis with a few days to go. And we knew they were heading towards 1,000 a good couple of weeks ago, and it's just keeping that dialogue and making sure that 500 people don't turn up on the day for 100 tickets that are left, because that would obviously cause a bit of mayhem.
Definitely. Cool. Interesting. Next question. This isn't for you, Danny. This is just generally for everyone. Harry Harris. That's an interesting picture, by the way, Harry. Why was the atmosphere so pony on Saturday, and what's the strategy to prove this from the next game home game? And Spike, do you want to respond to that? Was an interesting one. I didn't think it was that bad.
The atmosphere was all right. Yeah, I mean, it did like these guys said, it did feel like a bit of a 0-0 game fairly early on when they were quite gladly letting time pass and this kind of thing. But I thought the atmosphere was all right. I guess the only thing to improve it is put the ball in the onion bag, right? It's a good start. I don't think. I don't know, Danny. Maybe you do have some strategies for it, but I think
one of the things we're looking to do, and again at 250 on the back, I could feel that sort of we're trying to work on music. It's putting in more music stings, and we're looking to intertwine that with past commentary of FA Cup and Macklin Fenwar, etc., just to get the hairs on the chest or goosebumps going amongst the crowd. So we just we're on the verge of being able to add those clips in, but we've now got these sound bites, and we're just starting to literally get into that mode. So hopefully Saturday is what we're trying to encourage people just get in their seats that few minutes earlier, just to really boost it. I've been in the change room area when it's 2:56, 2:57, and you can hear it. And if I was a player, I'd know I'd be loving to run out there and start, go on the beat of the bang and kick start the game with earnest.
Cool.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, Dane.
One of the things I noticed was the atmosphere.
Rob's on a satellite delay, by the way. I can't believe you're on a satellite delay in Reading, mate. I don't know. Go on.
So I'm on a bit of a delay, yes. Now, one of the things just going back to the atmosphere is I noticed quite a lot of people in the Facebook group said there was a lot of new faces in the South Stand, and I don't know if that impacted the the singing yesterday. I think they're referred to as day trippers, but I mean, surely we want as many new fans and day trippers as possible because in the long run that's going to if they enjoy the experience they're going to grow the fan base. But maybe it's a case of they're not up to speed with the songs and the atmosphere. I don't know if you know anything about that yesterday, Danny, if there was a lot of new people in the South Stand.
Yeah, there was. We obviously analysed sort of percentage of new fans, and we've now got systems in place that recognise, say, Anne-Marie, obviously she's anything but a new fan, but if Anne-Marie's a new fan, we would have a particular email that she would receive the day before a game, as well as a email after the game to encourage, entice back, and that's one of the mechanisms we've put in place over the last couple of weeks, just to further improve that experience. Because we have a number of first-time fans. I saw a family yesterday that were waiting for autographs in the autograph zone post-game, which is something we need and will better publicise. It's the first time she'd been. And literally, I'll be surprised if I don't buy a season card and season ticket next year. Just that, connection that we've built just through that on a game that was 0-0. So I think I would have bought a season ticket there and then if we'd won 1-0. But
so is that kind of analysis? You said we've just started doing this in the last few weeks.
Yeah, we're trying to get more intelligence with our and segmenting our fan base based on frequency, attendance. Those that have got a family, those that attend, arrive early, arrive late. The smarter we can be with understanding our fans when they come in. The more bespoke we can make the communications to them, and ultimately, as we know, we've got to try and address our revenue so that we can continue to be sustainable and pay this friendly debt off, as we call it. But pay this debt off and allow us to be successful and sustainable as we can in the AFL pyramid.
Cool.
It's interesting, Danny. So I've started doing stadium tours, which has been really interesting on match days and that. And it's amazing how many new fans. We had an Australian couple that literally just moved into the area on a Monday and wanted a team to support. Done a stadium tour, and I literally I must have done so much promotion on why Wimbledon is great. But it's interesting with the atmosphere wise, because I'll be honest, every time I've done a stadium tour, they are so impressed with the stadium. They absolutely love the stadium, and I think I can talk on behalf of us here. Every time we go, we still get that butterflies. It's a mad stadium. How have you found it in terms of obviously being at Leyton Orient, which is a lovely ground there? How have you found it in the facilities at Plough Lane?
Yeah, it's interesting to compare it. Obviously, Leyton Orient is run by very successful business people, albeit that they are and were and remain fans. Obviously, Wimbledon's different in terms of being fan owned, and something that's one of the reasons I'm here. But what we're trying to do is just improve the ambience. Ignore atmosphere for a minute. Just improve the ambience. So those that went in the reception and the lobby, and those that enjoyed a prawn sandwich with Anne-Marie yesterday would have seen the start of the improvements we're making around the ground, the shop as well. So the ticket office is going to be located within the shop. That will be integrated in the next 2 to 3 weeks. But it's just basically trying to improve that look and feel of the stadium. There's an awful lot of concrete around, and we want to, when someone comes in match day or non-match day, to know, do you know what? I've just arrived at the home of AFC Wimbledon at the moment. There's a little bit of slacking in certain areas.
Anne-Marie, I'm going to chat with you.
Danny, did you ever come to Kings Meadow? Oh, I was going to say, did Danny ever come to Kings Meadow
with Leyton Orient, should we say my childhood team Gillingham, and went a couple of times as guests as either as well. So I got to experience the delights of Kings Meadow.
Anne-Marie, I was going to give you the question from Zach's on here. The number of youngsters at the game is excellent. It will take a while for the crowd to mix in. Obviously, I know yourself, Anne-Marie, involved in Dons for Diversity and stuff like that. I don't know about you, but it's something that I'm really I love seeing. Again, on the stadium tour, I've had a few youngsters who are just so excited, and the enthusiasm you get off those kids seeing the ground for the first time is just amazing. I've got a little boy who's 5, and I'm trying desperately to get him. Well, he's going to be a Wimbledon fan because I've got enough photographic evidence. But it must be great, Anne-Marie, from what you do as well, that we're getting those in now.
Yeah, massively, and you definitely notice it so much more at Plough Lane. I think maybe we got to a point at Kings Meadow where potentially uptake of new fans got a bit stagnant, whereas now we're entering in sort of and tapping into totally different parts of the community. It's exciting, it's still fresh, and absolutely, I totally agree with you. It's brilliant to see so many new faces and young faces, and they just seem to be genuinely really enjoying it, and then bringing their mates, and the packs keep getting bigger and bigger each time, so it's fantastic. One of the questions I had for Danny was around what kind of our plans are improving matchday experience for the away fans. Don't look after them,
general... we don't want to be nice to them. We want them to
just home fans.
We're basically looking at every single stand, and that includes away fans. I think our away fan offering is limited. There's actually not a huge amount of space. Obviously, I appreciate the vast majority of us clearly wouldn't have been able to have wanted to be in that area, but it's quite a tight space. But I want to encourage people to get there earlier from all sides of it. I think if the away fans are in earlier, they'll build an atmosphere, and hopefully our fans will outsing them as they always will. But there are improvements that we can make within that area, as there are across all of the stadium in terms of our catering and our drink offering.
Cool. Just say
Danny, with the growing fan base we have at the moment. Oh, what are you going to say, Stu?
That's right, go on, mate.
No, I was going to say, with the growing fan base at the moment we have, obviously we've got a lot of fans now going to away games, especially the younger generation. They seem to really enjoy it. But I saw there was a few complaints about the Leyton Orient tickets, that people felt they should have got a priority if they were, the debenture holder or season ticket holder. Do you think that's something we need to change, or because we only have 3 away games that I can think of, Crawley, Sutton, and Leyton Orient, which we will kind of sell out every single time. Do we need to change our approach on that side of things?
I believe, and apologies if I'm wrong, I believe there was a priority for season ticket holders, and if there wasn't, there should have been. But what we're looking at for next season is to reward, where those games exist, and it might include ones like Gillingham as well, is where there is that scarcity of tickets rather than Barrow, which we'd probably never sell out. Is that we reward those that, firstly, are obviously everyone, season ticket holders, debenture holders, etc. But then those that have been to more away games than others, because I think that's the only fair. That's the way the likes of Liverpool and Man City operate their scheme. So that's something that we're looking at, so that it's a fairer system, and at least those that come to Barrow and Hartlepool away, etc., have a greater chance of getting a ticket rather than just someone who is unable or doesn't go to hardly any away games.
I know Gillingham's your boyhood club, but no one wants to go to Gillingham with that away stand.
Being very good friends with the chairman, I shall refrain to comment from that one. Having stood on that and sat on that terrace, yes, I agree.
Do you know what? I think, Rob, Gillingham is literally unique with that. I think it's like everyone associates Gillingham with that, that sort of scaffolding, sort of.
It's a temporary stand.
How temporary has that been, Danny? That
Well,
must
I
have been,
think it's been nearly 20 years, but I do believe they have plans afoot with their new owner.
Doesn't it reach a stage where if something's been temporary for so long that it is by law a permanent structure?
I think there are some planning laws. I think you might be right there. So, yeah.
Yeah, to be fair, Rob was only moaning because he didn't get tickets for Sutton and Leighton Orient because he left it too late. So that's the only reason Rob's moaning about that side of it.
Yeah, that was my fault, to be fair.
We've got loads of live viewers and questions coming in. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to quickly go back to a bit of football and give Danny a bit of break from question after question. But next 5, Northampton on a Valentine's Day. Anyone going? Do you know what? I'm not allowed to go to this one. I took my wife many years ago when we were first dating to Northampton on a Valentine's Day, believe it or not, and took her for a meal at TGI Fridays opposite the ground.
I was about to say it was a TGI Fridays. Don't get more romantic than that.
I know. I took her out. The thing was, Danny, she had the ump, and she remembers this still because I had to go early and she couldn't get dessert because we were late for the game. And that's all she remembers of the whole lot. But yeah, she did marry me after that. But yeah, so she wasn't up for going to Northampton.
They say romance is dead.
I wasn't, and do you know what? I wasn't the only person in there doing the same thing, which actually made me feel a bit better on that side of it. Spike, Northampton, tough game, isn't it? They've only won, I believe, one in the last 5, drew at Rochdale on Saturday. It's the old thing, isn't it? Is it a good time to play them?
I don't think there's ever really such a good thing as a good time to play. I mean, if they're a good team, you can see the same as Leighton Orient. But before we played them, they were on a terrible run of form. I think they scored once in the whole of January, and then we faced them and they just switched it up a gear, and that's it. So I wouldn't read too much into. I try not to read too much into form in our league. I think there's only so much you can actually take away from it. Unfortunately, I won't be there. I mean, I'm otherwise engaged with the wife. But I'm very much looking forward to that, obviously, if she's listening. I'm sure she's in the other room. But yeah, I think it'll be a good game. Like we, as often seems to be the case with us for many years, we seem to raise our game in these sort of matches. So I'm looking forward to a good result. I won't be following it on my phone either, is the plan. But I guess we'll see how that goes. When I start getting the alerts of 3-4-0 to us, and maybe
a headphone and it can be covered over, can't it? No one will know.
That's true. This is not your first rodeo, Danny, is it?
No, I've played this game many a year.
Just sitting here, like lovingly looking into her eyes, and yeah, very clever.
Do you know what? Lorraine probably doesn't even expect me to do anything because she knows I'll be listening to the football and stuff. So I think she knows me well by now. I must admit, I'm more of a spontaneous person rather than doing things that are just set for occasions, sort of side of it. Also, it's cheaper. Anne-Marie, you've obviously recently married, so
yeah. I was about to say, yeah, Spike and I could probably, we could definitely get away with going to football on Valentine's if we can get away with doing a Wimbledon meet-up on our joint honeymoon. So and watching the games while we're out in Italy. So I think Northampton on Valentine's sounds pretty acceptable to me.
Yeah, do you want to pick me up on the way?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
it's a date. We'll send them shopping and we'll go to the football.
Rob, interestingly, next 5 games, 3 of them at Plough Lane. So lots of games coming up, which is going to be great fun for us getting obviously all the stuff ready for the live shows. But do you know what? It's interesting, Rob, isn't it? Hartlepool struggling down the bottom of there, and then we get Stevenage and Mansfield. So still tough games, but for different reasons, Rob. Rob, you're on mute.
You know what? Whenever I look at the next 5 fixtures, I always think, oh, they look tough. Like, we recently just played Leighton Orient, Stockport, obviously Carlisle, they're hard games. And then I'm looking at the next 5, I'm like, Northampton's not going to be easy. We know Gillingham spent a lot of money in January and a bit on a resurgence. Stevenage are top of the league. And I thought Mansfield, when we played them away, I mean, I know we got a dubious red card and we're 2-0 up, but they just blew us out the water. We lost that one 5-2, and I think they were the best side I've seen this season. So, another hard run of fixtures. I keep thinking, when's it going to turn? When are we going to get an easy run of fixtures? But, one thing which always does surprise me with our next 5 fixtures, I always think, they look hard, and we keep picking up points, and that's all we've got to keep doing, At some point, the fixtures will turn, but we're going to start playing the bottom half of the teams, I'd imagine. And, maybe it might come, the fixtures will come at the right time of the season, towards the end of the season where we can make that late playoff judge.
Danny, interestingly, we play Hartlepool and Gillingham. Obviously, we spoke about Gillingham, but both at the wrong end of the table, but probably with different. Well, the transfer window for Gillingham was mad, wasn't it? Was that a surprise to you that they went? Obviously, they've got recent new funding, haven't they? But they've really gone for it, haven't they?
Yeah, I met the new chairman at the EFL meeting in Parliament a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, they're not waiting around to make sure that they stay up. And I think if they do stay up, they will be going even bigger next year. But it's this is a tough run of games, but League Two is competitive, and probably wouldn't have it any other way. It's the cliche, as we said earlier on. There's no such thing as an easy game, and the next batch of games, doesn't get any easier either. But we've got 3 of those games, you say, at Cherry Red Records, and hopefully we get the crowd behind us and get some points on the board and continue to look upwards rather than downwards.
I suppose, obviously, with the challenges we had on Saturday, Danny, is that obviously that means obviously with the 3 home games coming up, I suppose it's a pressure situation, isn't it, to get things right? It's probably the worst time to have 3 home games, if you know what I mean, on that side.
Allows us to test it, and if it was up to me, I'd have a home game every day. You know what I mean? That's what we live for, and what we buzz for, and it's a good set of fixtures, and some teams that are at different. Within a week we've got team bottom and then the next week team that are right up there. So it's going to be a good test.
Cool. So, we had a pre-question come in. It sort of goes. There's a lot of questions on a similar theme when it says Dominic Francis. There are plenty of great hospitality venues in London, for instance, the Excel, well-known hotels, and even better stadiums than ours. Well, that's debatable. Harlequin, Stamford Bridge, and Twickenham. How is the club distinguishing itself from these other venues and event companies?
Great question. So on a match day, we're AFC Wimbledon. It's the only place to come and watch AFC Wimbledon. But we're trying to make sure that we've got an offering that's relevant to every budget, to corporates as well as fans, as well as just individuals. I walk around areas of Wimbledon and think, we can provide an offering that attracts those people to come to us while still remaining relevant for those that, just want a normal so-called level of hospitality. And then from a non-match day point of view, we've got a long way to go for our non-match day. I really think that we've got an untapped massive opportunity here to really grow our revenues, increase the player budget, and start to chip away at that debt. And we do that by making our venue as best as we possibly can. We're starting to turn the wheels on that from a fairly low base, admittedly, and we've got a long way to go. But if we can do that, I think we've got one of the best venues in Southwest London, and we've got businesses that are coming out of the city that want to come and use our facilities, as well as businesses literally just on our doorstep.
Brilliant. There's loads of theme questions. This one's an interesting one. Xavier Wiggins, Wetherspoons is full of younger fans on match days. Any plans for attracting price-sensitive under 25s to drink at the stadium?
Ironic that Xavier asked that one. I still have a drink, having said that, from a couple of weeks ago. Yes, there is ways that we're trying to do that. I feel that our offering to the 18 to 24 age group is something that can be improved. We can't do anything price-wise in terms of differentiation of drink because it's against our licensing rules, but we are looking at ways that we can do a ticket offer along with a bit of food and a bit of soft drink or alcohol drink included within a price, because it's tough out there for us all at the moment, but that age group's probably getting squeezed more than any, with many on minimum wages, many still in education. So it's we've got a way to go. So we're going to launch a package for that for next season, working in collaboration with what seems endless colleges that are on our doorstep, as well as university students that don't live too far away from Plough Lane.
I saw there was a good comment from someone else, can't remember the name, but they were talking about the sales in the shop, the club shop, and the main thing I've noticed is the amount of kids, or I suppose parents, but so many more young kids wearing Wimbledon shirt. Like I run a little league in Colliers Wood, so just around the corner from the stadium, and I showed up on Saturday morning, and there were, considering being where we are, they're so used to seeing Chelsea shirts everywhere, and sort of having to bite my tongue a bit, but it's just so many more Wimbledon shirts now, and it's great. Like parents coming up to me because they know I'm a Wimbledon fan, going, I've been down in the shop and there's so much stuff and it's all so cheap. And like, yeah, great, come to a game as well and stuff. Get them fans, but it's good. I think it's a really good step. And
I went out for a run this morning. I know it's hard to believe, but I reside, should we say, midweek in not far from where you just mentioned in Colliers Wood, and I think I saw this was at early hours this morning. I think I've counted 7 people that were either wearing Wimbledon clothing or a shirt of some description, and this was in the very hours of dawn this morning.
nice. I was going to say you might have seen me, but that was not early hours of the morning.
Yeah, I'll get out before anyone follows me and tries to run. So I'm not the fastest.
The question you were talking about, Spike, is roughly, I think it's one we got from Zach. So Soft is Amazing often seems to have small run of great items. Whilst I know it's a risk to order above, but definitely a bit more of a calculated risk. It's a great question. I know Matt very well, and I'll be truthful from a personal point of view. Matt and his team have done a great job. I love the club shop now. It costs me money, Danny. I must admit, I don't like going in there with my little boy because it costs me money. But it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because, you know, order-wise, I know we had the recent retro kit that sort of sold out and then it's been redone. It's difficult, I'm guessing, to get an idea of what's going to sell well and stuff on that side of it.
Yeah, I think firstly, Matt and Ant and the rest of the retail team, brilliant. We've got one of the best shops in the Football League, and I've worked in some really good ones as well. And there is no doubt about it. Our range is good. We want to make it even better, including the online range. I think moving forward, we'll take a few more gambles on stock things. I like a calculated gamble. With those retro shirts, I think by our own admission, we probably could have sold a 0 on top of that. But it is difficult to gauge. There's also sometimes it's quite good to have a bit of scarcity. But yeah, moving forward, if we did that again, we would certainly not be ordering the number that we did. We'd order a damn sight more and get even more people. Those retro shirts are fantastic. It's that's the sort of ranges we want to be doing for young and old.
Just quick, this is an interesting question. It follows on from what you were talking earlier about match day experience, pre-match and stuff like that, atmosphere. I think it's one of the things I must admit that I think we could be better. I think, you know, if you go to some of the away grounds, and you're right, you know, in terms of building up that excitement before a game, it is great for everybody. Is there any other plans in terms of, so this question here is from Leighton Womble about any updates can we have on Mascots? Because I know obviously for COVID, obviously COVID stopped everything. I know I had my son booked in to be a mascot, I think for the Boxing Day game, but obviously I got cancelled. Is that coming back now? Because of course that's obviously a good stream of revenue. And just quickly, while I'm saying that, if you look at a lot of away places now, they have games at half time. You know, I think one at Northampton had where you could kick a ball into, if you got a ball into a boot from a certain distance, you won a prize.
Yep.
Anything looking around those sort of things?
Yeah, so firstly, in terms of the mascots, yes, we'll shortly be announcing the comeback of that. I'm not quite sure why it's not been operating because, you know, it should be. Obviously, volunteers have to go through a sort of DBS check as well, so that's sort of a process we need to go through. Yeah. But we should do. You'll have a fan for life if you deliver a good mascot experience. We should be having half a dozen to a dozen mascots each game. We're also looking at having flag bearers that, and when I mean flag bearers, I mean for children as well as those that are, shall we say, older, but sometimes act like children. So we want the giant flags that boost the atmosphere, that go up when we score, there when we come out.
Is that like Bolton, Danny? Sorry, just to interrupt. Is that like Bolton do that with a big flag running behind the goal?
I think saw it most recently at Chelsea, but I think Bolton do it as well.
Yeah.
And then there are so many things we're trying to do to improve that match day experience, and it is game by game that because we introduce them all at once, we won't have we're coming or going. But yeah, we've got a long way to go in terms of doing that. But I know if we provide a good experience for children, we generally will have that fan to engage with and provide memories that last a lifetime.
I must admit, Danny, I'm one of those children. I'm very much a kid at heart when I come to football. I love all that stuff, as these lot are probably laughing when I suggested ideas. Anne-Marie,
we will have I think the 12th person is also coming back, so that those that wish they'd been a mascot when they were a child can still have that opportunity as an adult. So that will soon come back, and then you can walk the team out. So
there you go, Stu.
Anne-Marie, there you are. Do you know what? Yesterday was so great. One of our people we know, Mark, had his mum's 80th birthday and she went out with the team. Anne-Marie, do you know what? That really generally makes me smile because I just think it's, I think it's great. We're all kids at heart, aren't we? Do you know what I mean? And stuff like that. But Anne-Marie, anything that you would like in terms of a match day experience, a game at half time, or anything, you know?
I'd just say with regards to Mark's mum, she had a brilliant day out and was really, really enjoyed that. I could see Woodyard really looked after as well, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm quite easily pleased. I'm probably not the best person to ask, but I don't mind what we used to do when we used to.
So.
Quite happy, as long as I've got my prawn sandwiches. It's a great match day for me. No, I didn't mind it at Kings Meadow when they used to do things like the crossbar challenge and a bit of that kind of thing. Mix it up each week, whether you got some of the youth teams going out. It's a big moment for them, like Danny said. If you have a good mascot experience, it's them set for life. Absolutely true.
Yeah.
But if you've got kiddies in the youth teams to go out in that stadium in front of people at half time, it's a bit of a buzz. It's nice for the fans to see the players coming through, because I'm pretty sure that was once people like Will Nightingale and Paul Callum-By at some point. So there's definitely something in that half time slot we could do on the pitch if possible. But I appreciate they are working very hard to keep the pitch looking good.
I'll ask Luke and Matt, the ground staff, after I bought them a beer one night. I'll ask that question. But we should be doing it. It's difficult with sprinklers.
Yeah, exactly.
And the warm ups. It sounds silly, but the risk of a child getting hit by the ball is real. The way that players ping the balls across now, so we do have to bear that in mind. But yeah, I think if we can find a way to do it, even if it's in the corner. No children will be absolutely buzzing.
I can tell you, Danny, that is absolutely true. Because when I was a mascot at Kings Meadow, I got absolutely pelted by the ball when they were practicing goal kicks, and I was so embarrassed. And I just wanted to save face in front of all the fans. But yeah, so it's a real hazard to think about.
Very, very much. You've got to work on your touch, Anne-Marie, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. Or my awareness.
Right, anything? Obviously, to be fair, you know what, you're doing a little league side of that. You're probably more in sort of what would attract sort of kids, or sort of. Do you know a game that I saw once? When you run with, when you run basically, I think you put your head on stick and you run around it a couple of times, and you got to go and shoot a ball. I'm anything for making people look stupid, because I do it all the time. Do you know what I mean? But any ideas, Spike?
Wow, you put me on the spot there. No. I suppose would be the short answer. I can have a think about it if you want some guidance from obviously an easy thing, which is just local penalty shootout against Hayden. That kind of thing always goes down well. It's just an easy one. You can get kids from the local community, perhaps a local little league, for example. They just come down. Come and watch the match, go on the pitch at half time, and then they'll be set.
I'll do a deal. Whoever comes up with the best idea is listening tonight, or in any playback on it, or any emails that anyone wants to find. The best idea that we end up going with, we'll make sure they're recognised with a signed shirt, and they can take the accolade for making a good suggestion. So that there's something out to put to the listeners as an incentive.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
Make sure you tweet that, Stu.
Cool.
Yeah, definitely. We're just running into the last sort of 7-8 minutes, so we'll just wrap up on questions. We've got still loads coming in.
I had a question. I wouldn't mind asking. Just on the back of talking about keeping the quality of the pitch going, which I think is looking very good this year. I know we've had a couple of the women's teams games at Plough Lane, and I know there's plans for more towards the end of the season, but they're obviously a real success story this year. I mean, this season, not even that. Today, they won 12-0 at home. It was against, admittedly, not a great team, but still 12-0 is a pretty good result. So just curious, if there's any plans for managing, and I appreciate it'd be difficult, but having a few more, maybe even a regular home game for the women at Plough Lane.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that women's football. It's something that we are very passionate of. I went on what's meant to be the day off today, but that wasn't work, going to watch them. They won as comfortable 12-0 as you'll ever see. The Hounslow goalkeeper, just as a side point, I think I mentioned before we went on air, it would have been 25-0 probably without her. But testament to the team, they just did not stop today. And real credit to them. We'll happily welcome the women's team for a couple more games at Cherry Red Records before the season's out. We really do have to find that balance. Obviously, we proudly host London Broncos, and we have to look at the monetary side of that, and also balancing the needs of needing to play FA Youth Cup games at the ground, as well as the men's first team. But we want to find that balance and have the women's first team there as many times as we can. I've seen and spoken to some of the women's team firsthand, the difference it makes to them, and also for the development squads to know that that's a pathway that they can do. So we'll work closely with the women's side and schedule in what's realistic and possible when we move into next season.
Great.
Danny, question for you from myself. One of the things which went out this week was Mick Buckley's February update, which I thought was really, really good. I really liked them updates by Mick Buckley, and I thought it was, really, had really good clarity of the transfer window and whatnot. But one thing which stood out to me is Mick Buckley said he, hang on, let me bring it up here just so I don't misquote it.
Preparation.
I know. Sure. He said, in fact, we are aiming to have a top third League One budget by 2026. Yeah. And I just couldn't help but think to myself, it seems a bit ambitious. I mean, is it realistic in 3 years' time to have a top League One budget?
It's ambitious, but that's the sort of target that we want to set ourselves. It's something that myself and Craig Cope are working sort of in simultaneous to. We make sure now that we meet at least once every 2 weeks, but the reality is it's going to be more often than that, so that our strategies are in sync and in line. But that's the objective of what we're looking to try and achieve. There's no easy recipe for that, and we get given every year, and I do dig in to find out even more about League Two wage bills in terms of where you are in that division. And sometimes you might get a League one that confidentially comes your way as well. So we know what we need to achieve based on this season to get into that category that Mick mentioned. But we have got to raise our revenues, and that's one of the main reasons I'm here. And I'm confident that we can do that whilst keeping an eye on our bottom line. I'm confident that we can find that balance of creating a successful, sustainable, community-led, fan-owned football club.
Super.
Cool.
And we're going to wrap up. I just want a last question, really, or sort of really leave the floor to you, Danny. You've completed your 100 days, which I'd imagine have been. I'd love to know what your 100 days have been like. I'm guessing you put loads in. How have you found? What's pleased you? What challenges do you feel you got after those 100 days? Has it really benefited you?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is that I've spent. I do this from the flat that I stay in during the week. I've had 4 days at home, apart from a little bit over Christmas since the end of October. That's probably the biggest challenge, but that's my problem, not the club's problem. And it's something that I do. I've got a baby coming at the start of April. So I have to try and find that balance. But what I've learned in the 100 days is I don't want to blow smoke. This is a phenomenal club. I knew it was. The people that we've got around the club, not just supporters, but our sponsors, our partners, our volunteers, DLAG, the foundation, Wish. The list goes on in terms of that the whole Wimbledon family is special. We've got a unique story. Now we want to tell it to some new audiences overseas as well as in the UK, and I believe we've got the platforms to do that. We have got a huge amount to do to raise the revenues further than what we currently have. We've got the platform to do it with the second floor. The third floor, I think we'll be able to commission in the near future to turn that revenue stream on. And ultimately, until we've got every single seat sold in that stand for every single game and every single match day, non-match day sold out, and even more prawn sandwiches sold, other hospitality options are available, by the way, the job won't be done. We've got a massive opportunity here. And I know that if we pull together and use that combined energy with the staff that we've got, who I'm going to hugely praise. The work ethos that I've got of the staff is second to none. There are staff members that have seriously raised the bar in terms of where we can go, and this is the best team I've worked with, and that's not discredit to anyone that I've worked with in the past, but just that energy, the excitement. There's so many fans within the department and within the club that really does help, because they get that passion. And I can assure you, nothing hurts more outside of the dressing room than the pain on a Monday following a defeat, and the excitement we have when we've had a victory at the weekend.
Brilliant. Well, Danny, look, I really appreciate you giving us an hour of your time this evening.
Pleasure.
From a personal point of view, I don't know about the other guys, but from 100 days, I've definitely seen a massive difference. And like I say, your quick decisions and just getting things done from a personal point of view, it's been really, really exciting having you on board. So I look forward
Appreciate
to
that. And so if I could just add and say just a 10-second one,
Yep.
I'm hopefully the most approachable MD/CEO in football. And much to the annoyance of my good lady wife, Claire. But genuinely, if anyone has got any queries, any observations, suggestions, large or small, I'm very thick-skinned. We want to make the experience even better of coming to the stadium, match day or non-match day. Pull me aside on a match day, email me, tweet me, whatever it is. I genuinely just want to improve this club day by day. We'll get there. And we've got a great platform to do it, thanks to a phenomenal fan base that we've got.
Brilliant. Rob,
Great.
even on your satellite delay, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Anne-Marie, we look forward to seeing you back among the other fans, us basically, in future.
See you in the fan zone next week, Stu.
Joe, I can't wait. Fans
Thanks
only.
for her.
Naked chips. Do you know what? By the way, Danny, just going to say, there's some great offerings in the fan zone.
Oh, I've been led to believe they are very good. I may have savoured one of them last night with the famous duck wrap.
I've heard about that. The problem is I can't get past naked chips. I keep trying to say I'm going to try something different, but
Yeah, it's strange, like a magnet, isn't it?
Yeah, do you know what? It's amazing. It really is. Rob and I probably look forward to that more sometimes than we do second half. But yeah. Spike, as always, mate, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, always a pleasure. Shout out to My Pie, #1 food stand.
Do you know what?
At
My
Plough
God.
Lane, by far.
Those sausage
And
rolls,
the
by
top
the way.
blokes to match, I vouch for that. He said, yeah, they're very, very good. We're lucky to have the vendors we've got, definitely.
Definitely. Cool, superb. So I've seen a few suggestions already come in about the halftime thing. So Danny, I will get them over to you as
Fantastic.
they come in.
Thank you.
Please send them over. And yeah, like I say, it's a special one-off show. So we'll be back podcasting a week on Friday, and then obviously we're doing the pre-match for Hartlepool. So thanks for joining us, and like again.